Which division is the strongest in the NFL entering 2024? What's going on, football fans? It's Mitch here, back with another NFL preseason rankings video. And in this video, I rank each and every NFL division entering the 2024 NFL season. The AFC, the NFC, from the AFC East to the NFC West, putting them in order from the worst to the best, 8 to 1. Let's have some fun. Let me know in the chat how you guys feel about my list, where I was accurate, where I was wrong. I love to hear the feedback. I'm also, while I dive into each division, I'm going to give you why they are in last, why they are in first, and why they are in between. And I'm going to rank the teams as I see fit within the division as well, so that I give an extra layer on top of how do I feel about these teams, how do I feel about the divisions, and then therefore you can piece it all together so that it makes sense, okay? So let's rank every NFL division, and let's get to it. Let's begin with the worst division in the NFL, and the worst division in the NFL, I think for most people is the same. There might be a little bit of an argument for this division just because the NFC South, nobody really truly knows who's going to win this division. Everybody has a guess, but nobody that knows anything about the NFL could actually, with confidence, give you an answer about, the Falcons are going to win the NFC South. The Bucks are going to win the NFC South. Who knows? The Panthers could win the NFC South. So the argument for the NFC South as a stronger division and not the worst division is that nobody knows who's actually going to win this division. There are a lot of other divisions, including the ones coming up, that are a lot more definitive, a lot more obvious, much easier to bet, okay? This division, who knows? But that's also because the reason they're in last. Nobody knows because they all suck. That's the biggest reason. Suck might be harsh, okay? But the way I look at the division is the Carolina Panthers are in fourth right now. I do think they have potential to get better this year. I like their improvements on the offensive line with Lewis and Hunt. I think Deontay Johnson and Leggett should improve the explosiveness and the separation of the receiver room. And Bryce Young should be more confident in his second season. Confidence is key for him. And getting rid of the ball. Not trying to be Michael Vick. Okay, just get rid of the ball, bro. Just get rid of the ball. And then defensively, Evero's a good coach. I think they have solid pieces like Derek Brown if J.C. Horn can stay healthy. Underrated safety tandem. Shaq Thompson comes back. Josie Jewell. They've got plenty of veterans that you can count on. Jadeveon Clowney. Not a lot of elite players. But you overall look at this team and nobody expects anything from Carolina. I'd expect them to improve this year. I just don't have a lot of confidence overall in Bryce Young leading the way to a division crown. I need to see more from him. Third place, I'd probably have the Saints. I do think that they have a strong defense and could make an argument they have the strongest defense in this division. I like their defensive line after adding Chase Young, Carl Granderson, Cameron Jordan. They've got pieces up front. DeMario Davis. They just signed Werner, I believe. And then the back end, Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, one of the low-key best corner duos in football if both of them can stay healthy. I really loathe, I absolutely despise the offensive line. That's the biggest reason I'm low on the Saints. I don't think Derek Carr is any good. Don't get me wrong. I think he's probably past his peak and is never going to get to the point of the flashes we saw a couple of years ago with the Raiders or in 2016 of those peak moments of Derek Carr where he looked special at times. But last year it wasn't great. This year, don't expect much protection, which is going to make Derek Carr very uncomfortable. He is not a quarterback that overcomes pressure. Alvin Kamara is only regressing. The receivers aren't really anything special outside of Chris Olave. Rashid Shaheed's kind of fast, but I don't know, man. I just don't love this team, the vibes, the coaching, the quarterback. they just keep hanging on and it's not working out. Number 2, I still have the Falcons at 2 and the Bucs at 1. This is debatable. The way that I see it here is the Bucs are more balanced. The Falcons have a more explosive potential offense. And the big question looming about this division overall is the coaching staff of the Falcons. How good will they be right away with Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson calling plays on offense? Kirk Cousins, his Achilles. Kirk Cousins' Achilles is a big deal. Baker Mayfield, he's comfortable. He played well last year. I'd make an argument it was his best season of his career. And yes, he lost his offensive coordinator, but I think that the offensive line got better with Graham Barton. I think that the receiving core got better with McMillan through the draft. I think that he has a good tackle duo, probably the best in this division. And the defense under Todd Bowles is always steady against the run. They have playmakers like Devontae David, Vita Vea, Kalijah Cansey in year 2, Antoine Winfield, Jamel Dean. Got plenty of vets that have played in this defense for a while. I just think the Bucs are the most steady and consistent. I could see the Falcons being the most dangerous team, but that's the way I would order it. But that's the weakest division because we really don't know who's going to win it. At number 7, I have the AFC West. Now, this one is the worst in the AFC West, which might be slightly surprising for some people because it features the Super Bowl champs, the back-to-back Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. And that alone should rank them higher in some people's minds. But to me, like, competitiveness matters. Like, the Chiefs are very good, don't get me wrong, but there's not anyone in the same realm, on the same planet as the Kansas City Chiefs. There are these people that hype up the Chargers. Bro, if the 2006 Chargers couldn't win the Super Bowl, what do you think the 2024 Chargers are going to do? They don't have anything. You throwing the ball to Ladd McConkey and Josh Palmer? Come on. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. The O-line, I guess, Joe Alton, Rashawn Slater, but Herbert's got a lot of nothing around him. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh is some magician. And maybe they win like 8, 9 games, 10 games, maybe at the most. But defense is still pretty bad. Joey Bosa is a walking injury. Khalil Mack is old. He was amazing last year. I like Asante Samuel Jr. I like Gilman. I think Derwin James always has a peak season in him. But the linebackers are flawed. The D-line is flawed. There's just too many flawed elements of this team. Interior offensive line, receiving core. They're just not very good. They do have Herbert. I don't even need to talk about the Chiefs. They're clearly the best team. They have an awesome defense, and I still think it's going to be top 10 post-L'Jarius Sneed. The offense, I think, should be better, right? It should be. They have better receivers, although Hollywood is already injured. But I expect a better season overall from the offense. The Raiders. I like the Raiders, low-key. The Raiders, I like their defense. I think that Christian Wilkins is really going to help them. I think their secondary is a little underrated. Jack Jones, Nate Hobbs. I think Morig is taking a step forward this year. Linebackers, Spillane was awesome last year. And I think the D-line is probably the most underrated in the league. If Tyree Wilson can do something, they might really have a dangerous pass rush. But the problem with the Raiders is the offense, like overall, like the quarterback. Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell. Is this a guy that can lead you anywhere other than like 7 or 8 wins at the most, right? So I just see this team having to rely too much on Zamir White, who isn't exactly Barry Sanders in his prime. And the offensive line is a little bit of like potential. They've got some young players that I like. Jackson Powers, Johnson, Colton Miller, Andre James. These guys are good. But will it come together as a cohesive whole? I think they're somewhat flawed. Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers should be a lot of fun with Jacoby Myers. But I just feel like this team is really a quarterback away from being a playoff team. But they just don't have the quarterback, and they're going to lose a lot of close games because of it, in my opinion. And the Broncos just stink. Like, I don't understand why anybody thinks this team's going to be any good. Sean Payton is a good coach, still, even. He's not 2009 Sean Payton, though. Like, people still put him in, like, the top 5, top 10 discussion. what drugs are you on? But the offense, it just doesn't have any flavor. They don't have any playmakers. Courtland Sutton, he's a jump ball specialist. He doesn't really get open. I don't see any receivers really contributing here. Greg Dulcich is their best option at tight end. And Javonte Williams had a terrible season last year. Bo Nix is a rookie. That can only get you so far. The defense is average at best. I don't see this team being any good. So, yeah, this division is just flawed all over the place. I just think they have one team that's really a chance to make the playoffs. Maybe the Raiders and the Chargers can be interesting, but I just don't see it. At number 6, the NFC East. The NFC East is a 2-team division, which is why they're at number 6. It's the Eagles, it's the Cowboys. They're fighting over the division crown. We'll see who takes it. I personally lean towards the Eagles as the best team in this division. I think that they're a stronger overall roster. I think that the offensive line is absolutely phenomenal on paper. Now, that being said, Jason Kelce did depart, but I do have faith that they'll figure it out up front. I mean, they've got the best tackle duo in the league, probably, with Mailata and Lane Johnson. They've got young players that they've drafted very high, like Juergens, Dickerson. These guys have been solid players so far. And Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, that's pretty good. Jalen Hurts, I'm actually not as high on as others. I think he really struggled last year coming off an amazing 2022 season. He was somewhat injured potentially, but I just feel like as a pure passer, he does still have his flaws, but he is a great leader, great athlete, and he can make things happen with his legs. He does make big throws down the field at times. So enough of that mix along with the powerful running game from Saquon, they should get back on track offensively for sure. The defense is more the question. I don't know if they really fixed the linebacker. I personally don't think so. I think they're still going to be very weak in the middle of the field, even when it comes to safety, unless Cooper DeJean is really that guy as a rookie. Quinyon Mitchell is exciting, along with Darius Slay at corner. That's pretty interesting. And the pass rush should be pretty good, especially if Jalen Carter takes another step forward. You brought in Huff, you have Sweat, but the run defense is very, very suspect. The tackling, the speed should be better, but it's Vic Fangio. It should be better coached. I just feel like last year was so bad that it's hard for me to really think the Eagles are going to win the NFC, but I do think they'll win this division because the Cowboys are pretty flawed. Cowboys offensive line, right? Right tackle wasn't good last year. Center is new. Left tackle is new. They're both going to be young, replacing good players. Like Tyron Smith was unreal last year. The weaponry is decent, like Lamb, especially with the current contract situation. If he's not on the field, oof, you're in trouble. Like maybe Tolbert can take a step up. Brandon Cooks can be relied upon, but he's not Brandon Cooks from 5 years ago. So you have a problem there. Now, I think Lamb will play, but even with Lamb, I think they're a good unit, but not a phenomenal unit. And Dak probably is not going to play as well, especially considering the offensive line from last year to this year. His play should dip just a little bit, although Dak's good, but again, is he elite? That's a question. The running backs are not even respectable, to be honest. And the defense, Zimmer, Quinn should be interesting, but the pass rush is really good. The secondary should be fun with Diggs and Bland with a lot of interception potential. Linebackers are still extremely thin and flawed. Safeties are solid. I think the pass rush is really good. Run defense still a big issue, especially not replacing Jonathan Hankins. So I don't know, man, but the Commanders and the Giants are two of the worst teams in the NFL, in my opinion. I think I'm kind of rising a little bit on the Giants and maybe a little bit on the Commanders. I don't know. Maybe it's Daniel Jones with the beard, but he just seems more confident right now. I don't know what it is, bro. Daniel Jones might be better now, but I'm not going to fall for it. The O-line's still not the greatest. Okay. Jermaine Illuminor does help. Evan Neal is an absolute disaster, but they don't have other playmakers outside of Malik Neighbors to really bail Daniel Jones out. They lost Darren Waller. They lost Saquon Barkley. Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, nothing special in my opinion. Brian Daboll's a good coach. I like the defensive coordinator hire, but the defense has a very lackluster secondary despite a really potentially pretty powerful pass rush with Thibodeau and Lawrence and Burns. Okereke is also a really good linebacker, but I feel like the Giants just don't have enough on offense, don't have enough on the offensive line, don't have enough on running back, don't have enough in the secondary. Too many flaws. They could be more competitive than last year if Daniel is healthy, but that could even go the wrong way. If they start the season really poorly, that could be like a pull situation where they're trying to find a different solution. And you know how New York media can get. So it is what it is. And then you've got Washington, who Jane Daniels could be good, but I wasn't super high on him. I thought he looked good in the preseason. I will say that so far. I think when things become more complex, that's when rookies tend to struggle. Like Bo Nix, they all looked pretty good, right? JJ McCarthy, Caleb looked great. So rookies are looking good so far, but the O-line is a big problem for me. I think the depth in the weaponry is not exactly the best on the Commanders. I like McLaurin. Dotson still has questions to answer. Sanat looked pretty good early in his preseason. Eckler is slower than me, so like I don't think he's really going to make a difference. And Brian Robinson is a beast, but I don't think he's like elite. The defense lacking edge rush, lacking corners, lacking the pieces to be successful in Dan Quinn's defense. They should be improved because of the coaching and because of the linebackers with Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner. But I don't really feel like the edges of the defense are strong enough to support a good team. So that's the NFC East. Then we've got the AFC South at number 5. The AFC South, I think, is actually really slept on. Like there's a huge elevation from number 6 to number 5. The number 8, number 7, number 6 are kind of grouped in at the bottom tier, in my opinion. And that's kind of somewhat interchangeable depending on your perspective. I feel like the East is 6 because they have the Eagles and Cowboys, who are still playoff caliber type of teams. But number 5, the South, I honestly could see all 4 of these teams making the playoffs. Maybe that's crazy. I think the Titans are obviously the team that most definitely gets ranked the lowest. But the Titans have potential. Like Will Levis, the Mayo man, he's got a big arm, dude. And he's tough. And he's got really good leadership skills. And I feel like he's just got an energy and a vibe to him that players just love. Like you could tell the toughness of this team last year, even in that Monday Night Football Miami game. I think he has a lot of physical ability. It's a matter of him honing it in and becoming a more consistent player. The O-line is definitely better. And I think the biggest thing people are sleeping on is Callahan coaching it, coming from Cleveland to Tennessee. He's arguably the best offensive line coach in the NFL. Probably not even arguably. He's probably the best offensive line coach in the NFL. So with J.C. Latham, first-round pick, Peter Skoronski, first-round pick, Lloyd Cushenberry at center now, who's a top 10 center, you can make this work with the best offensive line coach in the league. You've got 2 capable running backs. Pollard looks back, and Spears, I really like. And then Calvin Ridley, a year removed from the suspension, D-Hop coming back eventually, Tyler Boyd, Treylon Burks. They've got weaponry. Okonkwo can catch the ball and run with it. So the defense is scary. I don't love the pass rush or the front 7 overall. I think linebackers one of the weakest positions in the league for the Titans across the board of the NFL. Safety should be a little bit better after signing Quandre Diggs. L'Jarius Sneed, Roger McCreary, and Chidobe Awuzie is an awesome trio at corner. I just worry about them against the run. I worry about them up front. I worry about a lackluster pass rush, even with Jeff Simmons and Harold Landry. I think it's a little bit flawed. So the Titans are interesting, but they have a lot of potential, but they have so many questions with a new coach, a young quarterback, and all that. The Colts, I think, equally have a lot of questions, though. Like, people are like, the Colts, they're going to break out. They're going to win 11 games. They lost Samson Ebukam already, bro. Like, I don't know. Then you've got a secondary that's not very good. Overall, like most NFL fans couldn't name more than a corner, and that's probably Kenny Moore. Julian Blackmon's pretty good. But outside of those guys, I mean, Juju Brents, CB1, we'll see. Linebackers, I like the linebackers, Franklin and Speed. I think they're pretty solid overall. The D-line is still good post-Ebukam, but you still need DeForest Buckner to play an elite level. Grover Stewart's getting older. Latu is expected to really take on a big role now because even as a rookie, because of the injury. So the defense, I think, is like bottom 12 in the league. And then, although they'll be good against the run, the offense is just like, is Richardson going to be good? Like, he's a pure athlete. He can run. He's got a strong arm. He showed flashes. But I just think the passing consistency, the accuracy, the ball placement, the rhythm, he doesn't have a lot of experience. So the passing game is going to be flawed. But I think the running game is going to be phenomenal. I'm really excited for Richardson, JT. The O-line is awesome. Pittman, Mitchell, Downs, Pierce. They've got enough weapons there, and Steichen's a phenomenal coach, but I just feel like the passing offense and defense keeps them from being like a playoff team, but they're kind of like in the mix because they have potential. But I think they're closer to Tennessee than people realize. Jacksonville, and then obviously Houston. Houston's the best team in this division by a wide margin. It's not even close. I don't want to hear any arguments. I'm Texans to the AFC Championship, maybe the Super Bowl all day long and twice on Sundays. CJ Stroud is going to be maybe the MVP of the league this year. I'm going out on a limb. The receiving core is phenomenal. Tank Dell already back, looking good in preseason. Stephon Diggs already screaming at Stroud. We're in midseason form. And we have Nico Collins, who's a monster, the next Andre Johnson in Houston. Dalton Schultz, Joe Mixon, a lot of complementary pieces. Those guys are complementary pieces. Pro Bowlers in the past. Okay, then you got Noah Brown, who's also pretty good last year. The O-line should be better this year with more health. I love the coaching staff, D'Amico, Slowick. I think the defense, look out for, I feel like this is the defense that could really be on the rise. If Stingley, Petrie, Christian Harris, Will Anderson, these young players really rise into the form that they could take, man, they could be a really good defense because D'Amico calls a good defense, game plans a good defense, all that. And I didn't forget about Jacksonville. I was just too excited to talk about Houston. But Jacksonville is probably the number 2 team because I think they have the best quarterback out of the other 3 teams, right? He's not better than Stroud, but he's number 2, Trevor Lawrence. The O-line should be better with Mitch Morse and Doug Peterson. I love Doug Peterson. I think he's one of the most underrated coaches in the league. He's a very good coach, very good play caller. Travis Etienne is a stud. I think Brian Thomas is going to be a stud. Christian Kirk's a good player. Evan Ingram caught over 100 passes last year. And they've got enough to really work. Gabe Davis even, who I'm not a huge fan of, but he can run straight, so that's fine. And then the defense, I think, is actually going to be really improved. Like, this team could make the playoffs because of their defense. I think that Ryan Nielsen is the most underrated defensive coach in the league. And I could see, Eric Armstead having an impact here on this defensive line. Trayvon Walker moving across the line, being more impactful. Devin Lloyd taking another step forward. Campbell being healthy. Andre Sisco taking another step forward. They just signed somebody at safety. I forgot who it was, but it was a veteran name who I was like, oh, Tashawn Gibson. Yeah, that was a nice signing. I don't mind that. That can also allow them to move Darnell Savage around, who they also added this offseason. So the AFC South is very underrated. Like a lot of these teams, they're a lot of fun. They're very young. There's a good vibe to them. At number 4, I got the NFC West. The NFC West is, I think better than last year. I definitely think so. Because I think the big team to me that is going to shock people is Seattle. Seattle is going to be a super dark horse this year. I actually kind of am thinking about ranking them second in this division. That might be crazy for people, but when you look at this roster, man, and you combine that with Mike McDonald's defensive prowess, with Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams and Draymond Jones and Jonathan Hankins and Jerron Reed on the interior D-line, that's just the interior D-line. That's 5 guys that are capable starters, if not studs, like Leonard Williams. I think Murphy already looking like a stud in the preseason. The front, I think, is going to be a lot better than last year. I think the run defense is going to be a lot better than last year. I think Devin Witherspoon is going to be an absolute monster this year. And I'm looking forward to Reek Woolen on the perimeter as well in this defensive scheme. Julian Love's good. The linebackers, I like the Baker and Dodson pickups. I think they're more fluid athletes. They fit what McDonald wants to do. And I think this defense is going to go from like bottom 5 unit at the end of last year to like top 10 unit in the NFL. Like, it's going to be that drastic of a jump because of how good this guy is at coaching defense. I don't think it was a talent issue. I think it was mostly a coaching issue. I'm calling out old man Pete Carroll. I love Pete Carroll, but I just think he was past his time in the NFL, especially schematically speaking. Very good motivator. Offensively, they just got too many weapons to fail. Like, their O-line is a little flawed, but signing Connor Williams really helps them at center. Kenneth Walker is a beast. DK Metcalf's an even bigger beast. Tyler Lockett can still play, and Jackson Smith and Jigba could have a huge breakout season. Noah Fant's also very capable at tight end. Geno's better than people give him credit for. I think Seattle is going to be super dangerous. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think the Rams should make the playoffs with this offense if everybody stays healthy, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp included. Sean McVay is a wizard. The O-line is improved, although already kind of banged up. I love Kyron Williams. And, Puka Nacua is one of my favorite receivers already in the league. Just the way that he catches and runs with the football. His level of toughness is off the charts. Cooper Kupp looks healthy in camp. That's good. They seemingly have more depth at receiver this year. And the defense is very, very suspect, which is what kind of has me concerned. But if guys like Jared Verse step up and play a role here, Aaron Donald being removed is big, but they did improve their secondary with guys like Tre'Davious White and Darius Williams and Cameron Curl. So those elements should help them. I just feel like they just don't have a lot of game changers on defense. They don't really have a lockdown corner. They don't have a great upper echelon safety. They don't have a beast pass rusher. Like Kobe Turner's good, but what will he be without Aaron Donald? So for me, I think it's like a top 5 to 6 offense with like a bottom 5 to 7 defense, which is kind of like a weird range to be in, but they have an excellent coach and a great quarterback. And then obviously you got the Niners and the Cardinals. So the Niners are the best team in this division easily. They're probably going to make the NFC Championship because that's just what they do, and they might win the conference again. I mean, there's no reason to think this team is any worse other than the Super Bowl hangover. It's great analysis, guys. But Brock Purdy is probably going to be better this year. I mean, have you seen him? He's jacked now. And also, he's been healthy the whole offseason. Kyle Shanahan has had time to work with this guy, which is a really scary thought because, I mean, he barely had an offseason last year, and he was, almost the MVP of the league. You got Brandon Ayuk, who might be traded, but honestly, I probably don't think so. Debo's looking better than ever, apparently, according to Fred Warner. George Kittle's George Kittle. The O-line could be better this year. They have more depth with guys like Hubbard as a veteran, Pooney as a rookie that's looking good in the preseason. Jordan Mason could provide a little bit of a spell to Christian McCaffrey this year. I wouldn't be shocked by that. Defensively, they appear to be deeper and better. I think the secondary added some nice pieces at corner through the draft and free agency. The safety position is deeper. Hufanga comes back, and they added Mustafa from the draft, who's already looking at the part in training camp and preseason, making some big hits. D. Winters has showed up big. He made a huge hit on Will Levis in the preseason. And the D-line's got a deep rotation of players. So, I mean, their defense should be actually better than last year. They were kind of overrated last year, but the coaching of Brandon Staley should definitely help a little bit, and the defense is deeper. So, Arizona, I have in last, although the reason they're at 4 is because Arizona has more potential than, some of the other teams that are in last because they have Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride. I like the offensive line. I like James Conner. Gannon, I'm still kind of not exactly in on. I will say that as a coach. And the defense, if they had a defense, they would actually be another team that people would be talking about in the playoffs. But this team just has no defense. Like, they're probably the worst defense in the league. They have no upper echelon talent outside of maybe Budda Baker. Their pass rush is absolutely vanilla. It's lacking. And they have no upper echelon corner play. Their big addition on defense was Sean Murphy-Bunting. That's not exactly ideal. So, yeah, the Cardinals will score. They'll be fun. They'll be great for fantasy, but not in real life. So, at number 4, the West in the NFC. At number 3, the AFC East, my division, the New England Patriots. Easily the worst team in this division. But the Patriots do have one thing that annoys a lot of teams, and that's a defense. Patriots do have a very good defense, and they'll lose. Like last game, they lost 3 games by a combined score of like 16 points. That was a lot of fun to watch, but I think they allowed like 20 points in the 3 games. That was great stuff. Hopefully the offense will be better this year, but the O-line is not looking great in the preseason or in training camp. So I'm not looking forward to that. Hopefully Drake May actually gets to play in the preseason coming, soon, hopefully, or else I'll be angry. If I have to watch one more half of Bailey Zappi in my entire life, I don't know what I'll do. I might revoke my fandom, to be honest with you. The receiving core, though, is actually an area of peak interest for me. Like Javon Baker, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk, Kendrick Bourne, like these guys are getting me excited because the Patriots having like an above average receiver is like something incredible. We haven't had that since Julian Edelman in 2019. So it's been like 4 or 5 years since the Patriots have had an above average receiver. So I'm looking forward to maybe having an above average receiver this year. Tight end, Hunter Henry, solid. I don't think the team, if they had an O-line and if I knew Drake May was good this year, they would actually be pretty competitive because the defense is good. As I've said, they've got a very deep rotation of players at all three levels. Their secondary could honestly be like incredible if Christian Gonzalez plays at the level we think. So yeah, Gerard Mayo's a rookie coach, but his side of the ball is handled. It really comes down to offense. Then you've got the Bills at the top, in my opinion, the Jets and the Dolphins in between. And it really comes down to where you think the Jets and Dolphins are at for the ranking of this division. But I love the Bills. I think that the Bills are actually kind of slept on this year because they lost Stephon Diggs, but people don't realize that I think the offense is going to run through, obviously Josh Allen, but the O-line and the run game, I think is going to be a good unit, especially with Allen running the ball as well. James Cook's a huge fantasy relevant player for me this year. Dalton Kincaid could be the chain moving number one option for Allen. And then Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Coleman could all come together to contribute. And that might actually be better for Allen, where he doesn't have a definitive number one target that he has to force feed. It might actually lower his interceptions. It might actually allow him to play, a little bit more conservatively and or like a little bit more of spreading the wealth, and that actually making the Bills a more dangerous overall offense. I wouldn't be shocked by that. I mean, Allen's one of the best players in the NFL, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, so he can carry this team. But the defense is also always very solid under McDermott. And I think this secondary, I just talked about New England's, the corners are very good in Buffalo, and they've got a lot of depth there. The linebackers are solid. The D-line is maybe a little bit of a question mark, but it's always got a ton of depth. Von Miller, he's the X factor here. Can he get back to form? The Jets and the Dolphins, that's kind of the question, right? Like, which one do you lean towards? I like the Jets just because I think that Aaron Rodgers, obviously first and foremost, if he's healthy, I think he's just even if he's not great, he's just a great game manager in terms of like his understanding of how to win football games, how to like control the clock, how to get to the right play, how to audible, how to work the line of scrimmage. His ability to control that with a great defense on the other side, I think that's going to be very fun for old school football fans to watch. They're not going to score 30 points a game. I don't expect it. They don't have enough weaponry unless Mike Williams turns into like peak Mike Williams for the entire year, which is almost impossible for him to do. But Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Mike Williams are the primary three. Mike's still coming back from injury. Garrett and Breece are really good players. I expect both to have great fantasy seasons for you guys. The O-line, I think, is really, really improved. That's the overall area that sells me on this team that didn't sell me last year. Tyron Smith, having Simpson in there, Elijah Vera Tucker healthy, Morgan Moses, all these added elements could really make them a dangerous running team and protect Aaron Rodgers, along with a first-round pick coming off the bench at left tackle is very nice to have as depth. But Rodgers controlling it with Sauce Gardner, CJ Mosley, Quincy Williams, Quinnen Williams on defense. They have one of the strongest defenses in the league. So despite me not believing in their coaching staff, I think they're better than the Dolphins because they're stronger at the line of scrimmage for sure. And they probably have the more mature, better quarterback, along with having the better defense. Miami has flawed defensive makeup entering the year. The coaching is new. Phillips might be back. Chubb's injured. So the D-line overall, they lost Christian Wilkins. That is highly, highly skeptical in my opinion. Linebackers are okay. Safeties are pretty good. Javon Holland's a stud. The corners, Ramsey's getting older, right? Kendall Fuller's old. The problem with this team is there's a lot of old players. I mean, OBJ, Calais Campbell, Jordan Poyer, Marcus May. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. This is like the retirement home of the NFL. Okay. Then you've got the O-line, which is borderline terrible, but they've got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, and Tua can put the ball on these guys. And Jonnu Smith, with the ball in his hands, dangerous. So they've got a lot of elements to create yards after catch. Mike McDaniel is going to make magic with these guys. And if the O-line is serviceable, they can compete for a playoff spot. I'm not as high on them as other people because the O-line and D-line have a lot of holes. So at number 3, the AFC East. At number 2, the NFC North. The North is loaded in the NFC, guys. Like loaded. They've got talent from top to bottom. If the Vikings had a quarterback, this would be the best division in the NFL. And they might have a quarterback if JJ McCarthy can step up. And JJ looked pretty good outside of the Jack Jones interception, which don't worry. Even Aaron Rodgers got picked by Jack Jones once upon a time for a touchdown. Okay, at least that didn't happen with JJ McCarthy. But the Vikings are last only because they don't have a quarterback that I trust. But I love Kevin O'Connell as a head coach. I love Brian Flores as the defensive coordinator. Totally biased Patriot homer take, but I love Brian Flores. Who doesn't love a coordinator that blitzes more than everybody and drops 8 more than everybody in the league? Come on, man. How do you not love that coordination? The D-line should actually be a lot of fun with Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Dallas Turner in the mix at edge. Linebackers, I think, are underrated with Pace and Cashman. The safeties are a really good trio there. Corners are very suspect. But if they do sign Stephon Gilmore or someone in that mold, as they did work out Gilmore recently, that would really help them a lot, in my opinion, especially with his familiarity with the defense, or even Xavier Howard, who's still out there as well. And then offensively, I mean, they've got everything but the quarterback kind of handled. Like Aaron Jones, if he's healthy, we know how dynamic he is. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Powell looks good. They've got depth receivers that people don't really know that are good. TJ Hawkinson, when he comes back, will be a stud. And then the O-line is one of the more underrated, like, cohesive units in the league. They do need to improve in their run game, but the O-line in the pass department is going to help any quarterback that is behind them, especially at tackle. So the Vikings, you know, a lot of talent, a lot of coaching, just the quarterback. The Chicago Bears, I mean, Caleb really, as good as I thought he was really, really good in that game against the Bills. Like, he looked pretty promising. Like, you have to kind of see it sometimes. And the Bears are almost flirting with, like, do I put them in the playoffs or not? Like, that's kind of the area I have the Bears. The defense is very solid. I am a little worried about the D-line. I just don't think they have a great pass rush outside of Montez Sweat. The linebackers are good. TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds. The safeties are solid with Byard and Brisker, and the corners are good with Jalen Johnson, Stevenson, Kyler Gordon. If Stevenson and Gordon can take another step, this could be low-key one of the best cornerback trios in the league, because Jalen Johnson's an absolute lockdown player. The O-line is kind of like one of the X factors along with Caleb's consistency. If Caleb can remain consistent and just not turn over a lot and protect the ball, not take a lot of sacks, not fumble it, like, can he just be the inverse of Justin Fields? Get rid of the ball, get rid of it on time. And then the odd time on third down and long, second down and long, then you can make your scramble plays and your whatever. But, like, don't hold on to the ball on first down. Don't hold the ball on 2nd and 4. Like, just get rid of the ball. Just get rid of the ball. The receivers are amazing too. So you shouldn't have to worry about that, because you got Keenan Allen. You got DJ Moore, who's a stud. You got Rome Odunze, who's a high draft pick. Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett. I mean, DeAndre Swift in the backfield, Khalil Herbert. So they've got lots of weapons. I'm really excited for Chicago. They've got a well-rounded team. I'm kind of half in, half out on the coaching. Then you got the Packers and Lions. Lions are loaded this year. Lions are loaded. Their secondary's improved. Their D-line's improved. Their O-line is the best in the league. Sam Laporta might be the best tight end in the NFL this year. Amon-Ra is the best slot receiver in the league. Jahmyr Gibbs might win you your fantasy league. David Montgomery is a good player as well. Jared Goff is just a wizard in this offense under Ben Johnson, who's low-key, like, top 3 play caller in the league. Not even low-key. He's up there. And then defensively, like, if they can get small improvements from younger players like Jack Campbell, Melon Fonwu, we know Branch is a good player. We know Hutchinson's a good player, but they added DJ Reader with McNeil. That's going to make their D-line really, really, really solid against the run. And you've got the Packers. The Packers are so much fun. So I have the Lions first, but the Packers are right there. Jordan Love, man. I've been raving about Jordan Love, and people always come back. Can we see more? Can we get more consistency? 2 for 2 preseason, 1 touchdown. Not a bad start. I'll just say that. O-line is always good in Green Bay. I'm not worried. Josh Jacobs, pretty good running back. Tight ends, Luke Musgrave could really take a step forward. I'm super pumped for Christian Watson this year. I think he's going to have a huge year. Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, and also Wicks. So Wicks had the touchdown from Love, by the way. Defensively, I think it's the area where they're really going to break out. I think because of the new coaching, the new scheme, all that, they're really going to break out on defense. The secondary could be, if it's healthier, Alexander, Stokes, Nixon. McKinney really adds a dimension of communication, but also physicality and coverage. He's a great safety. Really helps. Quay Walker needs to be more consistent, but the D-line has waves of talent. And if they can figure out the pass rush first and the run defense and the fundamentals up front, this defense could be top 10 in the league. It has that type of potential. I would probably safely put them inside the top 20, but top 10 is not outside of the question. And if you combine that with a top 5 to top 10 offense with the plethora of talent they have and the young quarterback on the rise, this could be a Super Bowl contending team. So yeah, the North is awesome. They've got 2 contenders and 2 really fun teams. And then the AFC North is the best division in football. Still, they've got Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, which I think is like the only division in the league where you could argue that with 2 really awesome quarterbacks, that either one of them could be the best in any given season, like depending on the health. Now, I slightly lean towards Joe, but Lamar is amazing. Don't get me, he's a 2-time MVP. He's an incredible player. I just think Joe Burrow, when healthy, is a little different in terms of the way that he controls the game and the accuracy, the precision, just winning in the playoffs, I think is at the edge he has over Lamar. But the Bengals I have as the best team. That might be slightly controversial for some people, but I think the O-line is the best that Burrow's ever had. I think the depth of receiving core is phenomenal. Like guys showing up in the preseason like Burton and Yoshi Voss, who I'm trying to pronounce his name now. And you've got Mike Gesicki added to the mix. I'm excited for Chase Brown. I think Joe Burrow is going to have an MVP caliber season. The defense is kind of more the question for them, but I think that they have all the pieces and the chemistry to really be good. I think they've improved the safety position with Geno Stone and also with Von Bell, so that should help. And if Cam Taylor-Britt's healthy, that will really elevate the secondary, along with a healthy Sam Hubbard should elevate the D-line. Rankins and Hill are a good combo inside. I'm not really worried about losing DJ Reader, honestly. I think that they'll be okay there. Wilson and Pratt are good at linebackers. So I think the Bengals are the best when they come together because they've got great cohesion and chemistry. The offense is potent when healthy with so many dimensions to it. And Burrow is so good when healthy. He can win any game that he plays. The Ravens are going to decline a little, I think, but they're still an awesome team. Lamar, Derrick Henry added to the mix, right? Mark Andrews healthy, Zay Flowers in year 2. Really big potential in weaponry. The O-line is my concern with three new starters and pretty much all of them being question marks there. Losing 3 starters that were very solid. The defense probably going to decline because they lost 3 coaches, including Mike McDonald, and they lost key pieces like Patrick Queen and Jadeveon Clowney and Geno Stone. But I think that they have, Wiggins looked amazing in his first action. Like they kept testing him. I don't know what Kenny Pickett, I guess he's not a starter anymore for a reason, but he just kept throwing it at the same guy who's just rejecting him every single time. Bro, stop throwing the ball at the guy that I thought should have went like 15 picks higher than the draft. I don't understand why he was so late in the first round. Of course, the Ravens get him. Oh, let's give the Ravens another corner that runs a 4-3. That's a great idea. Let's do that. Okay, we got Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith, Marcus Williams, Marlon Humphrey. Great defense, great skill on offense. I'm a little worried about the pass rush and the O-line. It's kind of the concerns for me. The Steelers have great talent. The quarterback is a question. Russell Wilson, even with the health, is a question. Justin Fields is just not it as a passer. Great athlete, though. And then the O-line is very much improved, very young, has a lot of upside, especially in the run game. Arthur Smith, you could already tell in the first preseason game how much better coordinated it was. It was so much better. George Pickens, if they add Brandon Ayuk, this takes this team to a different level because wide receiver 2 for them is very, very iffy. It's rather Roman Wilson, a rookie, or Van Jefferson. That's kind of pathetic. I'm not going to lie. Pat Freiermuth is solid. I like Najee and Warren. The defense could be the best in football. You got TJ Watt. And at any time, they could be the best in the league. Minka Fitzpatrick, Alex Highsmith, Cameron Hayward healthy, Patrick Queen being added to like a really good linebacking group. I think very deep. Even Elliott was a nice addition at safety. Joey Porter in year 2. That's promising. Mike Tomlin's a great coach. Never a losing record. And the Cleveland Browns are the last, but certainly not least. I think the Browns and the Steelers are interchangeable depending on your perspective. I think the Browns are overall more talented. I kind of trust Tomlin more than Stefanski, although I feel like the overall coaching staff. See, that's tough. Like, do you like Tomlin and Smith or Stefanski and Schwartz? That's like a really tight race right there. And really what holds up the Browns and Steelers compared to the Bengals and the Ravens is the quarterbacks. Like if you put Joe Burrow on the Browns, they probably win the Super Bowl. If you put Lamar on the Steelers, they probably win the Super Bowl. Like honestly, like, I don't know. I feel like both those teams, you just change the quarterbacks around, and this could be a different division entirely, which is why the AFC North is the toughest division in the league. The Browns are awesome. They got arguably the best defense in the league, one of the best offensive lines in the league. Nick Chubb coming back. I'm not worried. He's a superhuman. Amari Cooper, David Njoku, Jerry Jeudy added to the mix. Steelers, again, like, do they ever have a losing season? They almost won a playoff game with a reindeer. So, yeah, the AFC North is awesome. And those are my rankings. So just to recap quickly, at number 8, we got the NFC South. At number 7, the AFC West. At number 6, the NFC East. At number 5, the AFC South. At number 4, the NFC West. At number 3, the AFC East. At number 2, the NFC North. And at number 1, the AFC North. Those are the best divisions in the league from the worst to the best. Let's check the chat real quick. I just noticed we were actually had people in the chat. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to ask me questions, I'll stick around. I don't care unless they want me off. I don't know. But J-Max says, I'm calling it Bears winning the division this year and Super Bowl next year. Woo! N King says, Browns can have all the talent in the world. They're still the Browns. The Browns did make the playoffs last year and won 11 games with Joseph Flacco off his couch. So, I mean, can you speak on Fields' disaster of his Steelers debut? 2 sacks, 2 fumbles. First of all, the fumbles were a little, I'm not even, I've always said I'm not a Fields guy. Like never have been, never will be. I don't think he's any good. But the fumbles are not really his fault. Okay. Like it was kind of the center's fault. Like he couldn't snap the damn ball. Now, that being said, Fields he's too erratic. Like he holds on the ball way too long and he takes way too many sacks and he doesn't read the field well enough. Like, and his release takes forever. Get rid of the ball, bro. Get rid of the ball. So I think Russ is going to start there. But I think at any moment's notice, like you can put together a game plan for Fields where it works. Like Arthur Smith, like run heavy, play action, a lot of screens, get Fields running the ball 12 times, right? Like I think Fields can be a really good quarterback in like a 6-game sample. But if you have to have him for an entire year, it's a problem, right? That's my thing. Yeah, like it's definitely true. I think if you put Russell Wilson on the Bengals, let's say, even Russell Wilson, not Fields, and I have Wilson still as like a top 25, top 20 quarterback in that range. If you put Russ instead of Burrow, I guess they did win still like a few games with Jake Browning. So to be fair to Zach Taylor, they still win some games, but they're not making the playoffs. There's absolutely no chance. Like if Russell Wilson was the quarterback and not Joe Burrow, right? I think Russell Wilson is going to be solid in Pittsburgh because I think Russell Wilson knows how to like protect the ball and he knows when to go for big plays. Like he does hold on the ball too long, right? Like he is kind of like feels that way, but Russ like just has this thing about him and like the 2-minute warning, the 2-minute situations, the end of the game situations where he just comes up clutch in a lot of those situations and he doesn't turn the ball over. So if that happens along with TJ Watt and that defense, you can win like 10, 11 games with that potentially. Now the division is very tough and the schedule is insanely hard. So you never know, but yeah, shout out to Ant in the chat. What else we got? Love is the new Geno Smith. Totally disagree, but okay. Sports guy in the chat. I hate these vids. Thanks, man. Miss True. Zach Bryan was doing streams. That's an interesting comp. Never heard that one. Vasquez. What's up, bro? I think the Giants are going to surprise a lot of people. I don't know, man. Surprise team of 2024. I think I said the Seahawks. The Seahawks to the playoffs. Will Rodgers make this season? He might miss a couple games, but you got Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor's going to win a game this year. No, I hope so. I honestly hope Rodgers finishes the season. I hope he makes it through the whole year, just because the NFL needs it. The NFL needs the Jets to be competent for one season. Like, remember how fun the Jets were when they had Rex Ryan? In your opinion, who's the most unpredictable team in the league? The first one that comes to mind is Tennessee, but I feel like they're somewhat predictable in the negative range. I think the most unpredictable, the Jets are certainly in the discussion. The Browns are in the discussion because of the suspect kind of franchise history along with quarterback uncertainty. What else? Not the Bears. I was going to say the Bears. Who else? I'm thinking. Goes Raiders, Chargers, no. Colts? Maybe the Colts? Yeah, I would say the Steelers. Yeah, I would say the Browns, the Jets, the Titans, the Colts, maybe the Bears. Oh, maybe the Falcons if like Cousins is like not good. If it like his Achilles is just totally done. Maybe. So those would be the teams that come to mind. I think the Chargers are going to be the definition of mid. If you look up the mid in the dictionary this year, it's going to show a picture of the Los Angeles Chargers. That's my opinion. All right, I'm going to end it there, guys. Thank you for watching. It's Mitch. You can check me out on The Bottom Line View on YouTube for more NFL content. Also, make sure to follow me here on Bleacher Report for more NFL streams. I'm actually going to be back later today live doing a trivia. They want me to host a trivia event thing, so that should be pretty fun. So, yeah, see you guys later. It's Mitch. Peace.